Hey everyone, so in this video I'm going to be doing some raids in the War of Champions region. I'm moving there right now, so moving over my main account over to that region so that I can play in War of Champions this coming weekend. I will be streaming that event so you guys can see kind of the types of teams that I'm coming up against, and you will see my truck on fire a lot. So before I get started, don't forget to like and subscribe so that you can get more content from me. Now, I'm actually really excited to be a part of War of Champions. My faction hustled really hard and we were able to qualify for it. I think we qualified in 28th. And on a plus side, we also qualified without any bans and suspensions, so I'm very proud of my faction for that. And I'll be looking forward to see how we stack up against some of the top teams and factions in the game. Now, before I head over, I just want to make sure that I know my league standing as well as my arena standing, just in case something happens. So I'm just taking screenshots of that because you never know. Trait Mania, I'm in 8th right now, which isn't much. It's a few coins and the items, but I still want to have record of that just in case something goes amiss, because I heard that there were some issues with arenas not registering properly. One thing that I did do before moving over, I made sure I got to 800,000 points in level up so that I could get some of the paw prints for Marlon and Rosie, but I'm leaving those in my inbox because I'm going to be transferring again after WOC is done out of WOC. So all the paw prints that I collect while there, I need to leave them in my inbox because whenever I transfer regions, my event missions will reset. So although I'll get a lot of Marlon and Rosie cards, it'll be very difficult for me to get the dog collars. And I think this is just poor construction because so many people are going to be transferring out of their regions when it's made available. And if the Marlon and Rosie collection is still going on, well, they're going to experience a lot of problems. On a side note, as many of you know, I finally got a Rampage Weapon on a double attack weapon, so it's not the 175% double attack weapon with additional crit, but it is 150%, and I was able to get 48% attack as well. Now, in this video, I don't want to get into the math behind this weapon yet, because there's some specific mod changes that I would make to my Priya in order to make this weapon more effective on Priya. The spark notes for this is if you have Rampage and double attack, I would do attack set mods, but if you don't have Rampage, crit set mods instead. And now we're going to move on to raiding, and I don't expect to hit a lot of difficult teams. A lot of people are hiding their defense teams before the war starts, and I completely understand it. You don't want to show off what you have too early. You want people to have to adjust to it during the match, because the more that people don't know, like, the unknown can be scary and it can be difficult to adjust to. And right now this is just practice for me, just to get used to the new weapon that I have, because as you see right there, that double attack with a Rampage was able to finish the match early for me. Now, the one downside to Rampage is that the additional targets that it hits, those tunes will gain AP. So that's a little problematic, and one of the ways I can get around that a little bit is if I attack with Priya before I use any control with Cole, if I'm going to use Cole's active skill. Now, some ways that I can get my Priya's weapon to trigger more often is to upgrade the weapons around her to 5-star weapons and research team player, because there's an option with team player to increase the attack of tunes that are adjacent as well as the crit chance of those tunes. So I'm going to try and get that on some weapons as well. I'll have to do that probably post WOC because I don't have the weapon tokens, and in WOC is one of the areas that I can get weapon tokens. So it's kind of a conundrum because the thing that I need the most, I will get after I need it the most, if that makes sense. I will admit, running this team is pretty fun because you don't expect the damage output sometimes, and it's really awesome to see a team blow up on the first or second turn a bit more, just because you get that critical hit or that double attack that also has a critical hit, and you can just do an insane amount of damage. Like, the amount of damage output that Priya can actually do is unparalleled to anyone else, in my opinion. Because as soon as you put that double attack weapon on her with the Rampage, she goes from, on a normal rush, having 3 attacks to having up to 18 attacks, because each attack, including the double attack, could be a critical hit, meaning it'll spread to 2 other targets. And that's why a lot of players are actually going for double Priya with double attack weapons and Rampage on them, and then using that something to fear, I think it's called, Dwight lead that has the plus 40 attack and the plus 36 crit chance, because you don't need AP on a team like that. As soon as the Priya is able to get a double attack and Rampage, the amount of damage that can be outputted is amazingly high. The one downside to Priya, of course, is the basic attacks and high damage output makes her very susceptible to reflect damage. So the type of team that I would kind of envision would be that Dwight lead with plus 40 attack, plus 36 crit, double Priyas. I would add in Douglas because he would be able to put up a guardian shield as long as I made sure that both the Priyas had the least amount of HP, so that way they would have shields up, which would protect them from reflect damage. And then the last tune that I had would probably be a command tune, so that I could command one of them to do extra damage. Now, I know some people might be questioning, why am I using Priya not as a lead? Because if I use Priya as a lead, I would get a plus 50% attack bonus to range tunes. And I do have a team actually where she is the lead. I just haven't included it in this video. I wanted to kind of get used to using her with this Rampage just because it creates more uncertainty, in my opinion, than my team before. Like, I still have the other team available to me, and it's actually labeled as days because it's one that has a little more control. And on some teams, I'm going to need that control because if there's a lot of bide tunes, my Priya with her Rampage might be able to trigger them without killing them, thus resulting in multiple tune deaths on my team rather than theirs. Ever since getting Rampage, I've kind of realized how easy it is for some people to raid at this moment. There was no skill really involved other than getting lucky on crafts and having the right tunes, I guess. Who would have thought that the original Dwight 6-star would be this useful in the current meta? And yes, I'm calling it the current meta because the double Priya attack is one of the best attack teams out there, in my opinion. That's next to the turn 1 teams that have Doc Stevens in it, but that has kind of been neutered just a little bit ever since Angel has been released. I do know that there are a number of people that run the turn 1 attack team with Orav quite effectively, and actually someone's used it on my team multiple times and has been able to turn 1 my defensive team. So that does not make me feel very confident for WOC, but at the same time I know that most people won't have that specific team. So all I can do is kind of do my best in WOC and try to do as much damage to the opponent as I can, as well as try to reach that 500k milestone, which is super important this war because it gives you the chance at getting the limited edition S-Class tune. And no, we don't know who that tune is yet, but I'm hoping for great things because Scopely has actually put a price on their head where you can buy up to 4,000 of their S-Class shards in the store. So I'm expecting a very good WOC tune. The last one that we had was Lily, and I was actually able to acquire her after WOC, and I found her to be great on my bleed team. I'm really hoping that this new tune that comes out for WOC is an attacking tune, because I feel like Marlin and Rosie that just came out is a more defensive tune, as well as a tune that can be used for onslaught. Now, I would love to hear feedback from you folks about what you think about my attack team, what you like about it, what you don't like about it, and I'm always willing to hear feedback and what you guys think I could do differently in order to be more effective at attacking, at defending, at being a player in this game. I find we learn the most by asking others what they do and learning from it. Like, I'm going to make a lot of mistakes. And when I live stream WOC, I'm going to make a ton of mistakes, and you guys are probably going to get a kick out of it, because I know I'm going to. And now, as a little treat, here's an example of a turn 1 attack team that can be very effective so long as you have a Dr. Stevens, and they have a Daze Resist so that they can give AP to the proper tunes. Arav is able to rush once, he follows up, rushes again, and he can be command rush to rush a third time on the first turn. You can also make a very similar team to this with Priya in it as well, and by running a blue Carl lead or Harrison, even Zoo, you can have a very effective turn 1 attack team that utilizes both Arav and Priya. Anyway, thank you everyone for watching and listening to my video.